Right, for more on that, let's take you now to the ANC Free State Conference, where reporter Tuamaole Mohlaoli is live there for us. Tuamaole, good evening. Good to have you with us tonight on In Focus. President Cyril Ramaphosa urging delegates to accept the outcome of this conference.
Urging delegates to accept the outcome of this conference and asking their bona, so to phrase, saying, what madness is this, referring to those delegates who have said they plan to take the outcomes of this process to court to challenge those very outcomes. But let's hear from one of the delegates who is Gregory Ntatisi, an IPC delegate, that is the interim provincial committee. These are the workers that President Ramaphosa has praised for doing a great job in rebuilding the structures and making sure that this conference has gone, which he has hailed a success. Saying that this court challenge threat. What is your reaction to that, Ntatisi?
Well, let me start by saying anyone in a democratic dispensation has got the right to challenge any product that they may not feel satisfied with and go to court. However, this conference was a resounding success in that it came out of a situation where there were no structures in the Free State, where we're given a task to ensure that we bring the movement to life and make sure that the movement serves the interest of the people of this province. Now, the Electoral Commission, after adoption of the credentials, had a rider that the credentials were adopted subject to rectification, which had to do with the numbers of people that could not reach the conference in time. And they were adopted. So that will be any matter that could be challenged in court, if possibly those that might have the sentiment will forever, in any way do so, which I suspect may not be the case.
And again, President echoing the fact that even those with dissenting views, although he's calling on them to work with the new structure to continue building on the successes that you have gained, the hard-won successes that you have gained, to try and rebuild the structures, to get that quorum, to ensure that conference goes ahead. But are you on your side, as those who have made this possible, willing to still reach out to those who effectively have turned their back or are saying they're turning their back on these processes you've worked so hard to build?
The situation that's facing the organization, the ANC, it's at a turning point. We need to ensure that we bring credibility, we bring integrity, and we bring all the members of the ANC under one umbrella and ensure that we act in unison. So reaching out to members of the ANC wherever they are and ensuring that they comply in accordance with what is the expectation out of all of us is a matter of yesterday.
And one of the expectations is certainly trying to ensure that service delivery is back in terms of the top of the agenda in local government structures where your members are deployees. How are you going to turn things around after so many years of basic disregard for what members were meant to do when they are elected to council? President Ramaphosa saying those days are over. People cannot just get into positions and effectively disappear and neglect their duties.
Indeed, the days for beneficiaries of state capture and mischief makers are over. The ANC is a product of the people of this country. It was created specifically to serve the interest of this country. We fought to lead the country, and we were given the mandate by the people of this country, and we have got no room for anybody who is going to demean this historic mission of the African National Congress. The days of those that have undermined the might of the African National Congress and its mandate from the people of this country has come to an end, and it must come to an end in this province and in the country in general.
Before I let you go, a very quick last question. Do you think that the public at large, specifically the long-suffering public and residents of Mangaung municipality, which also has, of course, been suffering from the effects of that state capture, of neglect from officials who were entrusted with running it efficiently. Do you think people would still throw their weight behind the ANC after all these troubled years?
I come from this province and I come from Mangaung. I know exactly the sentiment of our people that has to do with ensuring that what they themselves have created as the ANC must be nurtured and must be secured. Indeed, our people have seen it all in terms of those that ignored their mandate. The cleanup that will be done in this particular metro, it will be together with the people of Mangaung to ensure that what has to come to them does indeed come to them.
Right, thank you very much for your time and for your views there. That was Ntate Gregory Ntatisi, an IPC delegate, one of the interim provincial committee members who worked so hard to bring us this conference and to bring the branches to a quorum to come to conference and ensure that the resolutions that will be reached and that this conference be held after the longest time without such a structure sitting for the ANC here in the Free State province, and saying that they remain resolute to ensure as it moves forward, it does heed the calls of President Cyril Ramaphosa. It's back to basics, back to the branch, back to service delivery of the communities, and back to rebuilding and renewing the ANC. With that, back to you in the studio.
Talking about renewing the ANC, Tuamaole, talk to us about what else came out of there. I suppose some key things that have got to do with those matters that are currently occupying the minds of the nation, and that is power generation. Any concrete thing, I think, coming from the president addressing that conference around the question of load shedding and what they've decided?
Well, of course, the president saying that the ANC is very much aware and very much sensitive to the frustrations, the high level of frustrations that people are feeling when it comes to the issue of load shedding and the current levels that the country is experiencing, saying that, of course, they are working tirelessly both at, party level, trying to put their minds together, engaging with various stakeholders on what is the best way forward, as well as in the government level, government structures. In terms of government level and government structures, President Ramaphosa touching on the fact that there have been some investments in large-scale, infrastructure, including the building of power stations, two specific power stations that he mentioned there. And he says that this process, because of the urgency of the matter, has not been without its teething problems and has not been without perhaps problems that could have been avoided if the proper planning and the proper time had been given to engineers and government planners to try and get the correct methods and the correct kind of infrastructure in place. But he says that they have to make it happen. They have to carry on with the process, and urging the nation to be patient, and saying that, of course, they're also looking at renewable energy, including solar, use of solar panels, solar energy, and other renewable energy as a sustainable way to ensure that there is enough power on the grid, and saying that government as well as other private sector players can do their bit to ensure that they grow that sector, and giving a context as to where these issues of the rolling blackouts come from in terms of the breakdown of the infrastructure, and saying that as the economy grew post-1994, the ESCOM infrastructure was worked so hard that, of course, there was no time to service it properly. Hence, it started having that knock-on effect. Of course, in recent times also, we know that investigations have shown that there are some aspects of sabotage that have come into play as people try to continue to benefit from that particular power player. Also, the issue of attaining extra megawatts from neighboring countries. The president taking the country into confidence, saying that there has been that deals cut to gain and make sure that additional megawatts are retained and are sourced from the SADC region specifically. This will not necessarily be an overnight cure or an overnight solution to a long-standing crisis. However, it is the first step in a long journey, one would imagine, to try and stabilize the power grid of South Africa, to ensure that the views and, of course, the plans that were espoused in the January 8th statement that was delivered by President Cyril Ramaphosa right here in Mangaung, which in part talks about the growth development of the economy, with specifically the development of women and inclusion of women as well as young people, and the growth of the macroeconomic level. This is something that, of course, the power player, which would be Eskom, would be central to. However, the President also talking about that particular rate hike in terms of the hike at around 7-8% that was announced by NERSA there, saying that it is unfortunate, and though that government is aware that people are feeling the pinch, and that this increase in the tariff would only hit them harder in their already hard hit pockets, but that government does not have a choice. If indeed it is to stabilize the grid, it needs to finance it. And the debt levels that the power utility finds itself in are quite staggering, and that President saying that government is going to try and see how it can offset those particular to try and reduce or try and cushion at least the consumer about that increase that is certainly going to hit hard.
Yeah. And